Blog Talk Radio.
Following ingredients include a look behind the scenes. Cook uncovered until hot. Add grooves to taste.
I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl.
The accident was over a year ago. A second woman has been elected president. The 12th planet has been named in the solar system. The last wild polar bear has died. I slept through it all. I was here for my waking. He called it a beginning. He said it was good. I think he may have thought that anything I did was good.
Welcome to Transition Radio with your host, Angelo,
and your co-host, Lynna Lopez.
A show for trans folks by trans folks, here to let your voice be heard.
Hello and good evening and welcome to Transition Radio, live from the land of enchantment, Silver City, New Mexico. My name's Angelo. I'm your host.
And I am Lynna Lopez, your hostess. We wanted to take a moment to thank our sponsors, thebreastformstore.com. They have everything you can imagine to enhance your feminizing needs.
As well as Spunk Lube, which is an award-winning personal lubricant that's glycerin-free, non-staining, 100% sex toy safe with all materials, and it's fun to use. It's available in Spunk Lube Hybrid, Spunk Lube Pink, and Spunk Lube Pure Silicone, which is our favorite. Visit their website at www.spunklube.com to check out their amazing line of products and use the code TR and you will get a 10% discount.
Please support Transition Radio by clicking the donate button. No small amount is too small. Check out the GoFundMe of the month.
And actually, we've got two GoFundMe of the month this month. And there's an FTM dear friend. He's all the way from the Philippines. He's trying to save up for his top surgery. And, of course, we still have my dearest, Lynna, GoFundMe account. Every little bit helps. She's incurred a lot of medical bills, and there's just, her life has been turned upside down. But on a greater note, we have just moved back to the RV. Yay! And the weather is changing.
Warmer.
Sure. So it's not as bad as it was. December, I think, seems to be the heaviest or the coldest month here in Silver City. And then it starts to slowly warm up a bit. Actually, I think today the temperature went to 70-something degrees.
It felt pretty nice out there today when we were getting stuff out of that storage unit.
It's like a never-ending move. For someone as OCD as me, I think that the universe creates all these challenges to help me cope with certain things.
And apparently my clothing were one of those challenges for you, huh?
Not just clothing. I know, just like bags and bags
of clothing.
I'm like, how does a person get to wear these things? I bet you could go the entire year and not repeat the stuff that you have.
Well, I guess you're right. It's definitely been humble pie to have this accident and everything and allow myself to view life differently and not so caught up in the things that I thought were important.
Definitely. Well, today's topic is suicide. We definitely want to touch base, and if you guys want to call in, the number is 646-716-6895, and you could actually join in the conversation, questions, comments, your experience, all of the above. I think suicide in our community is very prevalent, and I think suicide is prevalent in our world with other individuals. Not long ago, Robin Williams took his life. He was an amazing comedian. We all thought he was a very happy individual, yet
he dealt with a lot of depression as, his life went on. We found out, that he was hiding behind his comedy, basically, to, cover his depression.
His depression, which there are different types of depression. We got a caller, so we're going to go ahead and bring in the caller and see what the caller has to say. Hello, caller. Your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, guys. This is Cece from California. How's it going?
Hey, brother. How you doing? Long time no hear.
Yeah, long time. I'm sick. So I figured I called off of work today. I've just been kicking back, and I wanted to tune into the show and see how you guys are doing.
Hey, good to hear from you. So you're sick. What, do you have, a cold or?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
so what's on your mind,
bad, but you mentioned suicide. Unfortunately, I don't have any experience with this, but we've been hearing a lot about it lately, and it's too bad. It's too bad.
Yeah. Actually, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, it's you can never really know, just how people are gonna handle certain things, or you can never really tell if someone's actually going to, commit suicide or not. It's just, I don't know, it's hit or miss,
Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing, and like you said, you really can't tell, sometimes the signs are not that prevalent, and sometimes people do the boy who calls wolf, who continually threaten, and, people stop taking them serious, and before you know it, they do take their lives.
I just think that suicide is just one of those things that you can't diagnose it, because it happens to people in all walks of life, not just those that are trans or anything, but, people fall into a deep depression over a loss of a job, or, a marriage is over, or anything. Anything can happen, and they basically, they get sick or injured, and they can't recover the way they've wanted to, and they can't live the life that they wanted. They think that it's an option, and the sad thing is that it really is no option.
Yeah, it's no option. And again, everybody has a reason, and everybody has a different pain tolerance to their situation. There are individuals that could handle more than others. There are individuals that a loss of relationship, like you mentioned, could lead to a severe pain, which leads to not wanting to be here anymore.
Right.
I think sometimes people find, and this might sound cruel, but sometimes people find that this is a way to get back at certain people. And, they end up taking their lives, almost like to try to hurt someone else. And I know
their
that
last-ditch effort.
Yeah, and I know that's not the case with everybody. A lot of times it's chemical. Our brains are very much controlled by hormones and different types of chemicals and receptors that create lack of serotonin, for instance, which is the happy hormone that we have in our brain that keeps us happy. And there are people that don't produce enough of that, or because of the foods that they're eating, it's diminishing the amount of serotonin. They don't exercise. They're just very sedentary. There are many different reasons. In the trans community, we obviously know that a lot of the reasons for suicide is because we feel that if we can't present the way we feel inside our hearts, we don't want to live anymore. And one of the things I do want to say to people out there that it does get better. It does get better. Life may not be exactly as you want it to be, but whose life is it exactly as they want it to be? The world's challenging. What do you think about that, Cece?
I'm sorry. It's me going.
You were just daydreaming there, weren't you? See, it caught you off guard. Yeah, what's your thought?
I'm slightly under the influence of cold meds at the moment. I probably shouldn't have called in. But I just wanted to touch base with you guys and say hi.
Okay. Thank you for calling in, and keep in touch, brother. Don't be such a stranger. And I'm glad that you're working and doing well.
Yeah, man, I'm trying.
All right. You have a good one.
All right,
so anyway, yeah, take care. So anyway, you guys could call in at any time, 646-716-6895 if you want to share your experience. or if you have a comment that you want to say, whatever it is that you want to do, just go right ahead and call in and share your experience. I know that I've actually known several people. There was a young 16-year-old FTM many years ago, I would like to say maybe a good 9 years ago, who took his life, and he had a very accepting mother, which many of us don't have, but it still was, the pain was too much to bear. I think his father was not accepting. He was getting made fun of at school, and you know that when you're 16 years old, that's a very tough time without being trans. And they found him in his bedroom. He had hung himself, and I knew him personally. His name was Ian. I actually wrote a song about him a while back, and the parents were just totally devastated. He was actually part of one of the documentaries that I was going to do on trans kids, which never followed through. Certain things happened, but I did meet the parents, and I met him, and very nice teenager, but he's no longer with us today, and that is very sad.
Yeah, there was a person that I interacted with on Facebook last week who is a MTF and hasn't quite started the transitioning yet with the hormones and everything, but just said that they were sitting in their car in front of a gun store, and they thought that, putting a hole in their head was something that they wanted to do. That was something that sounded like a great option to them. They had, basically kind of lost out on the marriage and everything, and just caught in this hellacious reality of chaos that they throw themselves into because they think that there are solutions outside of just accepting yourself for who you are, and it's just very difficult for people like that to not make it an option, especially if they've entertained the thought in the past. And I don't know if they find comfort in, they start by, sometimes they'll slash themselves or something and cut themselves.
Yes.
And stuff like that. And, it's like, it's a telltale sign, for those who are, looking for any signs, especially in your teens and stuff, that, they may be attempting suicides if you check their hands and their arms and their feet, legs to see if they've been cutting themselves,
That is a condition, though, it's not always linked to suicide. They call cutters, and they do that. It's a way of, relieving or alleviating the emotional pain, and they actually do it to get some physical pain.
Well, he told me that he was doing it. This guy told me he was doing it to, before he was going to do it.
Okay. Okay.
And I think that sometimes they use it.
That's a form of,
Yeah.
It's very sad. I mean, a lot of individuals feel that if they cannot get SRS, and I have a dear friend of mine, I won't mention her name, that really scared us, actually, last week, because she had some bad news that she was not going to be able to get her surgery, and she thought she was. I think insurance was going to cover it, and then insurance turned out that they weren't going to cover it completely, so she had to fork out some of the money herself, which she doesn't have, and she went through a major letdown, which led her to a major depression, which she was contemplating suicide, and it scared me because, person and I go a long way, and actually the first time she tried to commit suicide, she watched one of the shows that I was on, and through my words and my presentation and the Maury Povich show, she did not commit suicide. So this time around, we text for quite a while, and thank God she's still with us here today. The message behind all this is that SRS is not the solution to everything. There are even people that commit suicide even after SRS.
Yeah, the numbers are quite staggering with the high suicide rates after, people actually do have the surgery. I mean, it's ridiculous. Some of the numbers are just off the charts, I mean, they talk about, the conclusions in a study that was done in overseas in Europe was persons with transsexualism after sex reassignment have considerably higher risks for mortality, suicidal behavior, and psychiatric morbidity than the general populations. Our findings suggest that sex assignment, although alleviating gender dysphoria, may not suffice as treatment for transsexualism and should inspire improved psychiatric and somatic care after sex reassignment for this patient group. So, I mean, it's never going to be the answer.
And people think it's the magic pill that once they have their surgery or once they're on hormones, they're going to get all better. And what we have to realize that there are other underlying issues here besides gender dysphoria. And I know a lot of people get angered when I talk about this and they don't want to accept it, but there is other mental issues involved in individuals that are termed with gender dysphoria. I mean, you have to think about it. I mean, the years and years that you hide and you're hurting and people are just ridiculing you, that adds up.
Oh, it does. It does. It's like there are so many other psychiatric things going on with you. I had a friend who started to self-medicate and do hormones on his own and had already started developing breast tissue. No-brainer, right? I mean, it's going to happen. If a male ingests estrogen, it's going to happen. But this person, they wanted to get, their big therapist meeting done and stuff, and they wanted to find out if they really did have gender dysphoria. And the doctor, they were disappointed when they came out afterwards, and they told me, this was me before I even transitioned. They told me, Lynna, I'm not going to be able to transition. The doctor said that I am not gender dysphoric and that I'm really dealing with childhood abandonment issues because I'm adopted, and my dad, I don't know who my parents are. And this person today is very well adjusted, had help and a counselor and stuff to talk things through, but now has no inkling of a desire of any realization of being transgender at all.
Right. And many, many people that actually think they do because, as we have mentioned in the past, these gender therapists just kind of hand out these letters to just about anyone when they hear what they want to hear, because it's like there's certain keywords or certain things that we as transgender individuals have learned from either online groups or whatever. We know exactly what to tell the therapist, so that the therapist gives us these letters.
Right.
And unfortunately, not everyone has gender dysphoria. Not everyone is truly transgender. And I know a lot of people get upset when we say this, but that is the fact, and we're seeing more and more detransitioning because of it. I mean, it is bigger than just taking hormones, getting your sex reassignment surgery, wearing certain articles of clothing, that we also have to realize that it's not just going from one gender into another. I mean, there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. There's not enough research. The therapists aren't that well educated on this. I mean, it's like the blind leading the blind. They're learning through us. There's a lot more research done, but this is still very brand new as far as the whole transition with hormones and surgery.
Well, somebody told me, a good friend, they said, when you're dealing with these things, people need to realize that there are studies that go back 6 years. And I'm thinking, 6 years?
That's nothing. That's not even
just in the bucket.
That is absolutely nothing. I mean, as far as long-term research. I mean, there's no long-term research. What's going to happen to the kids that have been given hormone blockers? For those of us that have been on hormones, I mean, we're putting synthetic stuff into our body that could alter the chemicals in our brain, that could alter the chemicals in our body, cause cancer.
Not can, but
do. Exactly. Right? And it's a scary thought. And yes, okay, a lot of people think, oh, well, you guys are trying to talk people out of this and you must have some regret. I have absolutely no regret. But there was nobody around to tell me these things.
Well, I mean, if someone were to ask me if they should pursue what they want, what they feel and stuff like that, I would say, by all means, don't. Because, I mean, I think it's dangerous to just jump into it. I think that it's something that if it's something that has to happen, it has to just be. So you can't just I don't know. It's just difficult because I wouldn't recommend people to go get hormones. I just wouldn't. I would, they have to know, they have to have peace in their heart. I'm not saying not to go get treatment. I'm not saying that whatsoever. What I am saying is that you better know darn well, that you are dealing with these issues in your life before you go and get medically, castrated by Spiro.
Exactly.
Or before you end up looking more feminine than you would if you hadn't taken, or more masculine.
Right.
So I think I may be misunderstood here, but my basic gist is that I would not encourage people to go forward with it unless they know beyond a shadow of a doubt.
And we've been around forever. Transgender individuals, before this whole medical community just took on the task of altering our bodies and providing these hormones to attempt for us to go from one gender to the other, there have been people and tribes for the longest time who have felt transgender. They dress the part, they act the part, they live the part, but they never really did anything to change their physical being. They just lived.
The medical community didn't offer those kind of options in the past.
Exactly.
Estrogen is something relatively new.
Mm-hmm.
Spiro is something that the 70s MTFs and stuff that they never would have taken, So, who's to say that all of this is right, what we're doing?
Exactly. And the ramification, our health ramification. What is it going to do mentally? Because we think that our dysphoria is going to be alleviated when we pop hormones or when we get surgery, and we're finding with all these research that it actually does not.
Yeah, I was finding out something about Spiro that was really shocking to me, that in some cases testosterone levels boosted from taking Spiro.
Right.
And, and the fact that if you were to read, all of you who are trans and are taking hormones that are MTS, if you would read your bottles, the description that comes underneath when it describes the various side effects, they're not very pleasant.
They're not at all. And the fact is that it does, like you say, castrate you. You get to a point where you can't have sex. And human beings are sexual beings. I know that I am, and I know there are a lot of people, but...
I am too.
Yes, very much so. That's very good. I am glad we are together because, but, what's the use of feeling aligned when you can't share a sexual experience with someone? Feeling...
I think that the early... what I'm understanding is the early MTS, they foregoed the experience and the pleasure of sex in order to have their vagina.
Yeah.
And, although it was not able to do the things that a vagina is supposed to do, they were satisfied having that look, that feel of completion,
But that gets old, and I think that's why we're finding that individuals that transition 20 years into their transition, they're unhappy. Because either they're alone, they're not able to be sexually satisfied.
Let's not say all, but some.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't. Did I say all?
No, but okay. I don't want people to think that we're saying all of them.
No, not all of them. But there's a lot of individuals that do, and I've had a lot of friends who've had the surgery and who are not happy, and they have not been able to find someone to be in love with or to love them and have a happy, healthy relationship. And I believe that's one of the reasons that we are here on this planet, is to find the one. You and I are very fortunate that we found each other.
Very much so.
And we have an amazing relationship in the bedroom, outside of the bedroom. It's just amazing in the short amount of time that we are together, how well we've
bonded.
Yeah,
it's an incredible, wonderful reality when you find that true soulmate of yours. And I would encourage any MTF that, find someone who is the opposite of you, which is an FTM, somebody who's, capable of knowing exactly how you feel, knowing exactly what you've been going through. And although they've been going through it in the opposite manner, it's still the same thing. And it's a beautiful, beautiful connection that we can make when an FTM and an MTF actually meet and fall in love. I don't think it's that common because I think that there's so many issues that surround being trans and getting through your transition already on your own. It leads to a lot of loneliness, and hence why the suicide rates are so high, because you can't find a companion. The numbers showing 41% of people who are transgender or gender nonconforming have attempted suicide sometime in their life. Nearly 9 times the national average, according to a survey that was released 3 years ago. And then they did a new study, and it researched deeper, and it analyzed the results of the National Transgender Discrimination Survey to examine what puts transgender people at such exceptionally high risk, and it's among transgender people who became homeless because of bias against their gender identity, 69% said they had tried to kill themselves. And out of those who had been turned away by a doctor because they were trans or gender nonconforming, 60% had attempted suicide sometime in their lives. The numbers are really staggering, and these numbers have to come down.
They do.
Or else a lot of people are going to die.
Yeah. And it's, there's a lot, how would I explain this without insulting anybody? We've got to look at life and look at the big picture. Yes, gender's important. Gender is something that's very important. To be understood and to be aligned, to feel happy with oneself is something that is extremely important. But so is health, and so is life, and so is living. We've got to sometimes look at the bigger picture and realize that what's between your legs doesn't define you.
Right.
And it's not everything. And I think by educating society to accept people for being different, because I think that's one of the reasons we as transgender individuals are here, to educate society to get out of that gender box.
Well, what people think about you should never define you.
Exactly.
What you want to be perceived by from people, from the public, shouldn't define you. These are things that you should be able to stand on your own 2 feet and to be able to have the confidence to know who you are and to let the world know, not because you want them to know, to conform to some norm that they have for you, but because you're you.
Exactly. Well, we got 2 minutes left of the live version of the show. We wanted to say that we are not going to be doing shows anymore on Gay Live Television.
Oh.
Yes. Well, one of the things that, and I was hoping it would get better, but their model is not the model that we're looking for. They're charging for subscription. I've always provided my shows for free, and I've always dependent on those that want to donate or,
right.
On sponsors and advertisers, which is what we're looking to do, is find more different sponsors and advertisers. We're also going to gear things a little bit different. We're
Definitely.
not going to be so focused on just transgender issues. We're going to focus on world issues.
And transitional issues in life.
Yes.
Transitioning to understanding something new, something that you haven't experienced before, something spiritual, something health-wise, holistic, there's so many things that we can transition to and become better people.
Exactly, and I think that's what it's all about. And I think there's been just a lot of negativity within the trans community, a lot of attacks, and to tell you the truth, when I started Transition Radio 2.5 years ago, that wasn't the focus. The focus was to actually bring light to positive transgender people or people in the LGBT community as well as the T, and had tremendously great interviews, and there's the library there for those that want to listen. But I think we are going to just switch gears altogether, and there's just amazing people out there.
There's a lot of people out there that are doing a lot of things to make this world a better place and to help people, and I think that there's a lot of focus that we can put on them, these individuals who are making differences on a daily basis in other people's lives.
Exactly. So we're going to be doing our own, using Google Hangout for now, and interviewing great people throughout. Not to say we're not going to interview other trans people. We might still, bring in every now and then, people from the LGBT community, but we want to step away from that model and start doing other great things. So on that note, we want to thank you for tuning in, and ending the show with an old original called A New World, which I tried playing last week, but it didn't queue up correctly. So thank you, Cece, for calling in, brother. All right. Good night. Remember, we love you, but love yourselves too. Good night.
Children of this world, yes, I'm speaking to you, sir, the one who holds this credit card. Listen closely, this is God who speaks through me and speaks through you. You don't need books to know the truth. Enough's enough. The time is up, and we need to start a new world. Yes, we need to start a new world. Look around you at your world. What disasters have you formed? Killing programmed ill machines. Care for nothing but your being. Speaks through me and speaks through you. We don't need books to know the truth. Enough's enough. The time is up, and we need to start a new world. Yes, we need to start a new world. Particles that we are from, floating atoms and neutrons, together they must become one. Can't you see that, my dear son? He speaks through me and speaks through you. You don't need books to know the truth. Enough's enough. The time is up, and we need to start a new world. Yes, we need to start a new world. Become aware, awakened child. The time to learn the truth is now. It's all a dream, you can know.